Urthecast will provide the world's first HD video feed of Earth streamed from space. Oh my God, this is the greatest shit that I've ever seen. I've got to get in on this. Hi, my name is Kimberly Craig, and I've decided to send you in a webume. And what a webume is, it's a video of me giving you my resume. So I'm calling it a webume. So just to give you a little bit of background on my professional life, I started off with the airlines when I was 18 years old. Back then it was pretty much a bush pilot operation and mentality. So I started off in reservations, and after a very short while, I think actually about 3 weeks, I was pulled off the floor and told that I was going to be put into the operations center. So back then you didn't really need any training, you just sank or swam. And in my case, I was lucky. I was able to grab the concepts pretty quickly. So my particular field of expertise was departure control. So on a daily basis in the operations center, there were 4 key positions that ran the airline. So departure control is exactly like it sounds. I was in control of departures and weight and balance and everything to do with customer service, so passengers. So what would happen there is, I mean, we only worked when there was difficulties. Quite frankly, management loved it when they walked through the office and we were watching videos or playing games because they knew that the airline was running smoothly. If we were working, it meant that something was wrong. So the challenges that we basically came up against were weather, maintenance, and crewing problems, or crews going over the hours that were allowable for them to work. So if we had weather problems, we would basically powwow and decide how close we could get our passengers to their destination, and then how we were going to complete their travels to their destination. So that might include busing them in, it might include shipping them in, basically, sending them in by train. Whatever means was possible, that's what we would do. So another difficulty that we would face would be maintenance problems. So, for instance, if an aircraft was down for maintenance, again, we would powwow, we would decide where the lighter loads were, where the lighter cargo requirements were, because we also dealt with Canada Post at the time. And so the lighter loads, as long as I could get the passengers where they were going in 24 hours or less, we would steal their aircraft, take it for the heavier loads and the heavier cargo loads. My job would be to maybe phone up any other airline in the world, see if they had available seating. If I could comfortably move all the passengers over to another flight that was going at relatively the same time, because back in the day, there was lots of airlines running the same routes, we would steal that aircraft. So I would then, once I distributed all the passengers, I would call the CSAs at the airports anywhere in the world, and I would tell them exactly what they were going to do with their passengers. Because keep in mind, the CSAs had all the passengers standing right in front of them, you know, wondering what was going on. So I wanted things to run as smoothly as possible, and most of the time they did. I was also part of the emergency response team. So again, back in the day, that was the actual team that went to air crashes, which was never a pretty sight. And thankfully, I only actually had to do that once. So that was a bit of a rough spot of the job. And we dealt with a lot of tight situations there, a lot of scary situations, actually. So I was glad that I actually only had to visit a site. So from there, after 18 years, you know, pretty much the gig was up for me. I traveled the world. My daughter had grown up to the age where I could now take a chance. So I decided to go back to school. So I took an early retirement from the airlines and I went back to school, and I had a lot of fun doing it. As a matter of fact, I was in my 30s. I thought I might be a little old to be back in school, but I met some great friends there that I still talk to today. So as far as my educational background goes, I started off in the network technology program at BCIT. So I have completed the network and technician course, the structured cabling for computer networks, understanding TCP/IP, router essentials, Microsoft Windows 2000 Professional, Microsoft Windows 2000 Server. So once I'd gotten that far into the program, I realized that my real passion was going to be tracking terrorists. So I switched my major to the Forensic Science Technology program. In that program, I've completed computer security networks, business continuity planning management for IT, and internet for investigation. So from there, I was recruited by the RCMP to join their child pornography task force. Now, keep in mind that was a pretty new field in Canada at the time. It was a shock to me to realize that in order for me to reach my goal, I was going to have to start off with child pornography. I was pretty harshly warned that I would see things that I would never forget. I would be a civilian working with the RCMP. I had the opportunity to actually do some schooling with some RCMP officers that gave me some pretty gruesome detail, and I decided at that point that that was not going to be a very good fit for me. So from there, I was recruited by Microsoft, and that was a pretty good gig. Again, it was traveling around the world. And what it was I started off as a proctor, and I call it for their traveling roadshow, because what we would do at the time was anytime Microsoft had a new product, they'd want to showcase it. So they would send a proctor and an instructor on the road. We'd be on the road for 3 weeks at a time. We'd come home for the weekend, and then we'd be back out for another 3 weeks, showcasing whatever the new product was. And it was educational, and it was a hands-on educational. So we would have 100 people seating in our show. I call it a show, but it's an educational program. So we would have 100 people, and I started off as the proctor, so I was the IT support and the logistics manager for the roadshow. So one of the requirements at Microsoft was that they have as many MCSE candidates on staff, as many as possible at a time. So MCSE was not something that interested me, and the only reason I bring it up is because I want you to understand that you can throw any type of software at me. I can learn it in no time at all and be pretty efficient in it. So in order to get my MCSE, I completed my installing, configuring, and administrating Microsoft Windows 2000 Professional, installing, configuring, and administrating Microsoft Windows 2000 Server, migrating from Microsoft Windows NT to Microsoft Windows 2000, and implementing and administering a Microsoft Windows 2000 network infrastructure. I took those 4 courses in less than a month, and it wasn't a lot of knowledge that I had prior to jumping into it, but again, just to point out how quickly I can learn systems. After being on the road for 2 years, I requested to come off the road and actually work in the head office at Microsoft, just doing the logistics. So all the groundwork for the road shows and taking care of, the hiring and taking care of all the needs of the proctor and the instructors that were on the road. So after I left Microsoft, I decided that I was going to take a little bit of a break, because I had done a lot of cramming and learning of programs and software for it had been several years by then. So I kind of went to my cottage and partied and just hung out for a year, and the end of the year I scratched my head and didn't really know what I was going to do, but I thought I wanted to do something fairly low-key for a while and just regroup. So I took a job with ICBC as an insurance adjuster. I've been doing that now for 9 years, and I've decided that I'm up for my next adventure, and your company is where I want to be. I mean, this shit is cutting edge. Looking at your website makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and I love it when I get excited, and I love setting myself up for a challenge. In my lifetime, people say, well, you've done a lot of things, and I'm like, yeah, I want to do everything that I can possibly do. I want to suck everything out of life that I can. I want to be excited about things again. I love to use my brain. I mean, once you've been doing something for several years, you kind of get comfortable, and I want to be on the edge of my seat again. I want to use my brain and do something new. And I also love to meet new people. I think I would be perfect for your company. I mean, Give me a task, give me a challenge, give me something to look for. I could find you a Louboutin shoe in the Red Sea. I mean, talk about the travels around the world that I've done that could come in handy as far as, you know, geographical knowledge. Future travels, I mean, get this. With your satellites, I could look at what they're selling in flea markets in India before I even get there. I could look at nude sunbathers on the beaches in Goa. I mean, this shit is just great. I don't know what software you're using. I can't wait to find out. I think that we'd be a perfect fit. My daughter's fully grown. I don't have any responsibilities other than career and fun, and I'm up for both. And I blog, I have my own blog, I vlog, I have a vlog series that I run on my blog. It's all about fashion and travel. I really would love for you to go have a look around. That way you can get a better feel for me. People think that I'm a bit nutty, that I'm a bit out there. Again, I just want to live every minute of life that I can live. Again, my qualifications, I think, are that I can learn product and software quickly. I love to share information with people. I love to learn new things. I'm quirky. I've heard that I'm fun to be around. I think I could be an asset to any business. And I'm loyal. I'm a loyal employee. So call me.